live. Let me just pull up Twitter real quick to make sure we're hot, but I'm going to walk you guys through how I do a player eval in the off season. It varies from player to player, depending how familiar I am with them, that type of thing. But let me make sure we're streaming. Yeah, we're streaming. Cool. Okay. So it varies. For somebody like Ryan Lindgren, whose game I watch every single game he played in the regular season and playoffs, I won't go back and crunch tape. For somebody on another team that I'm not as familiar with, or if there's something specific I'm looking for, like breakouts, or if we're talking about a goalie where they get beat, then I will take the time to go and watch some tape. But for the purposes of this video, I was midway through doing some research on Lindgren and figured I could walk you guys through this and make this interesting. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll start here. This is Dauber's Frozen Tools. This is one of the best resources there is in hockey research. It will show you every permutation of who someone has played with. Obviously, we know Lindgren's most common partner is Adam Fox. 951 minutes of his season played with Adam Fox, and that's all situations, not just 5-on-5, not kill. That's all situations 5-on-5. We know Lindgren and Trouba are the Rangers' first penalty kill pairing as well, so that's why Trouba and Lindgren are the second most common pairing. And then the further down you go, the more uncommon, obviously. But this is a good starting point here. I'm going to take a sip of water. This is a good starting point in understanding how a player's used, what their responsibilities are, who they play with, and what you kind of want from them. And then there's plenty of other resources we're going to go through, walking you through in this process. But this is the first one I like to go to. I like to see who people play with, how much ice time they get, their results. If you look down the column, you see goals for, goals against, plus minus, shots for, shots against. You see Corsi for, which is scoring chances, not just shots on goal, chances against. You see Fox and Lindgren slightly underwater, 49.9 shots for, 48.7 scoring chances for. That's not entirely disqualifying or problematic. That's not a liability. So after we do common partner, and we're going to switch tabs here, the next thing we're going to look at is quality of competition. This is Puck IQ. This is a database that tracks the quality of competition for a player. It is a little wonky at times, but right now it looks like it's working. Okay, so we got a scatter plot here, X and Y axis in the top left. We're going to click on Lindgren's 2023, 2024. That's here. So what this is tracking is the type of opponent someone is on the ice against. So we click on Lindgren's 2023, 2024. That's here. So starting out, we're doing left and right. So left and right is dangerous. This is Fenwick, which is, I don't want to get too into the minutia, but just think about this as dangerous scoring chances. Think about this as quality of your scoring chances for, and then up and down is versus bad opponents, the higher you go, good opponents, the lower you go. You see here, Lindgren spends the majority of his ice time against teams middle sixes, 39% of the ice time, 41% of the dangerous scoring chances in those minutes. Against elite competition, he has better results, 50.5%. But this is a picture, and it gives you an understanding of quality of competition. This is Puck IQ. This is a good resource like Dauber's Frozen Tools to show you getting the context of a player. Before we even start looking at numbers, we start looking at transition play. It's very helpful just to understand the context, understand who they play with, how often they play together, and then you see the quality of competition. And this makes sense in your brain because you think about it from the perspective of where were the Rangers using Fox and Lindgren the most this year. In my brain, I at least anecdotally feel like it was with Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere. And we're going to go over to Natural Stat Trick and we're going to look at that. And we're going to go look over at hockeyviz.com, which is going to show us people's most common line mates. And this is the contextual background of understanding players. And I do think it's important to establish the context before we start evaluating a player's performance. And I'm going to switch over to the Hockey Viz tab. I'm going to switch over to the Natural Stat Trick tabs in a minute. But pulling this up, you want to see who a player's most common forwards are, because with defensemen, you can lose sight of what responsibilities are. So far, we've talked about his most common partners. So Fox at 5-on-5 and then Trouba, because they kill penalties together. We've talked about quality of competition. They've played with the majority of Fox and Lindgren's minutes were against middle competition, so second and third lines, not bottom six, not fourth lines. And they have good results in the minutes against quality competition, which you see there 50%, and then good results against bottom fourth lines, 52%. So I'm going to pull up where is it? It's down here. Okay. So we're going to switch over to a different tab. This is hockeyviz.com. This is another subscription service. You look down here, forwards with ice time. We're going to go to Lindgren. We know he plays a lot with Fox. And then we're going to look at the top. We're going to look at the heat map here. You see the blue, that means uncommon. So you look at Lindgren, not a lot of time with Cooley, with Vesey, with Gaudreau, with Kakko, with Brodzinski, with Bonino, with Pitlick, with Roslovic, with Wenberg. Where's Lindgren's map hot? Where is it here and here? You see it with Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere, Kreider, Zibanejad. And then Vesey, Gaudreau, I would assume that's going to stem from end of game situations where Fox and Lindgren are out there towards the end of the game trying to salt it away as the team's best defensive pair. And that supports our working theory. You know, you heard me say anecdotally before I came over to this tab that it feels like they played the most with Trocheck, Lafreniere, and Panarin. And that makes sense. The Rangers use that group, that fivesome, to manufacture offense. That when this group is on the ice, we are going to do everything in our power to tilt the results in our favor, and that's going to make us a better hockey team. You think about it from the perspective of loading up, and this is something the Oilers have done to great effect in the playoffs this year. Now, the results that the Oilers get with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman, with the Matthias Ekholm and Evan Bouchard pair, that's not going to be comparable to what you get from Fox, Lindgren, Trocheck, Panarin, and Lafreniere. But we're going to go over to Natural Stat Trick. We're going to pull up their very handy-dandy line tool and go from there. We go over to their line tool and share this tab instead. Okay, so this is Natural Stat Trick, another very good resource. We're going to start with regular season, and then we'll come to playoffs. So we go to regular season, we go to teams, we go to New York Rangers, we go to submit, Adam Fox, Ryan Lindgren, Alexi Lafreniere, Artemi Panarin, Vincent Trocheck. Oh no, not Will Cooley. Vincent Trocheck. Okay. If this will buffer. There we go. Okay. So you see this fivesome, 233 minutes, 57% of the scoring chances, 57% of the shots on goal, 71% of the goals, 54% of the expected goals, 58% of the high danger looks, 11% shooting. You would say that's probably a little high, but you commiserate that with the high danger looks. You're going to get a higher shooting percentage when you're taking more dangerous scoring chances. So you start there. You get a baseline understanding of what the assignment is when Fox and Lindgren are out there. And we don't think of Lindgren as an offensive defenseman because he's not. He doesn't put up counting stats. He doesn't play on a power play. But he is used in a role that is incumbent upon some offense because of who he's playing with. Now, they play him with Fox because of his retrieval ability, because he's a little bit more physical, because he's okay blocking shots. And we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to go over to all three zones, and we're going to talk about transition play in a little bit. But you see that, and then we're going to change it. We're going to change it over to Zibanejad, Kreider, and we're going to leave that third spot blank because that spot rotated between Kakko, Wheeler, Roslovic, rotated between a few different people. But Kreider, Zibanejad, Fox, Lindgren. And we remember that Trocheck, Panarin, Lafreniere was about 230 minutes. See, this is about 220 minutes. And again, you're using Fox and Lindgren to try and maximize what Kreider and Zibanejad give you. 50% of the scoring chances, 60% of the goals, 52% of the shots. The expected goals, a little bit lower. They don't shoot as often, is the one thing I will say. Kreider and Zibanejad do not shoot the puck at as high of a rate as Panarin and Lafreniere. We go over to high danger, a little bit lower than the overall chances for, but still not inherently dangerous. You know, 43 to 50 over 82 games is not the end of the world. But you go over here, high danger goals for, they won the high danger goals battle. And most importantly, they won the goals for battle. 12-8 in the minutes that 5-some was together. So we've done the context. We've got the most common forwards. We know who Lindgren plays with. We know the situations they're deployed in. Now we can start to look at the results individually for Lindgren. So I'm going to go back over to Natural Stat Trick. We're going to go to Players. We're going to go to On Ice. We're going to go to Rangers. And we're going to change this to Rates, because Rates is going to qualify us to everyone else. My ring light died on me. Unfortunate, but it's still light enough that it's not the end of the world. I do have to plug this in, so give me 1 second. Okay. Continuing on. This is the Rangers team. This is this is the playoffs. So we want to go regular season, and we will do playoffs a little bit separately, so bear with me here. We want rates, and we want it for the regular season. So this is qualifying it in terms of rates, meaning over a 60-minute span. The reason you do that to compare statistics is because not everybody plays the same amount of minutes. Because guys play more minutes than others, and because there are different responsibilities commiserated with those minutes, we use rate stats as a measurement of... We use rate stats to compare guys who play fewer and more minutes. You know, you think about, I don't know how far removed some of you guys are from basic math, but you can't add or subtract fractions without a common denominator. That's why we put everything over 60 in this case. So we're looking at the Rangers rate stats for the regular season this year. You see Panarin, you see Lafreniere, you see Roslovic very high up there. That's smaller ice. You see he's here 69 chances per 60 minutes. That's only 12 minutes a game. Up here, 15 minutes, 71-70. This is 5-on-5. This is 5-on-5, not all situations. So we go down. Where's Ryan Lindgren? We go down to Ryan Lindgren. He played 76 regular season games, 1,200 minutes at 5-on-5. 55%, not chances, 48% of the scoring chances, playing at a reasonably high rate. And that's the key here to understanding these rate stats. As you go down the line, you still have the percentages, but these are the rates. And you got to remember, Lindgren doesn't play as much as some of the other defensemen here. I'm going to change tabs real quick. We're going over to We're going over to Hockey Reference. I'll pull that on Command Plus so you can see it a little bit better. Hang on. Okay. That might be a little on the big side, but that works for our purposes. So Fox, most commonly used defenseman. Miller, second most. Trouba, third most. Lindgren, fourth most. 19-21 a game. And that is about where you want a guy like Lindgren, who's not playing on the power play, but is on your penalty kill. And you got to remember, the reason Fox is here is because he does both. The reason Miller is here is because he does both. I know that second power play unit didn't get out there a whole lot, and I know Gustafsson was out there a good chunk, but Miller kills penalties and occasionally got out there on the power play. Trouba's out there because he kills penalties. That's why he's up here. Lindgren is here. That tells you that a little bit less in responsibility, that at end of games, they would probably rather have Trouba Miller out there, but on occasion, you're going to have Lindgren and Fox out there. So that's that. And then we go back over to Natural Stat Trick. We got to change tabs. Okay, Restream's doing that pretty smoothly. So we come here. The gap in between the underlying results and the actual results is what's interesting to me. You see 2.27 expected goals for. That's not a lot of offense. If you scale that out, that's on the lower end for the team, you know. Not all the guys above him played comparable minutes, you know, Brodzinski, Zach Jones, Gustafsson, Roslovic. Not all of those guys are playing comparable minutes. You know, we said Lindgren was at about 19 minutes, 19 minutes all situations. He's about, I want to say 16 minutes of 5-on-5 per game. So a gap between expected results and actual results. And we look at the high danger, giving up a little bit more. The key here, we're looking at save, 93% save percentage. That's good. 9.68 shooting. That's good. And remember, we said it's okay if the shooting percentage is high if we're creating more dangerous offense. Now, Lindgren himself is not creating a lot of dangerous offense. Like, we're going to go over to Lindgren's himself tab here. And if this will load, okay, so the difference between individual and on ice. On ice is everybody Lindgren plays with. So that includes the forwards, that includes his partner, whether it's Fox, whatever. On ice is everything. On ice is everybody he's playing with. Individual is just Lindgren himself. That's why if you look at the goals tab, 0.07, blah, blah, blah. You look at the shots, he's not shooting the puck a lot. That's good for the Rangers. The Rangers don't want a low percentage shot when he's out there because you got to remember who he's playing with. He's playing with Fox, Trocheck, Lafreniere, Panarin, or Zibanejad, Kreider, and whomstever, whether it's Roslovic, Wheeler, Kakko, etc. You want Lindgren out there to play defense and retrieve the puck. And we're going to get to puck retrievals in a minute here. But understanding Lindgren's responsibilities is important. It's important we talk about the context of Lindgren's responsibilities because that's where we can get a better understanding of where he might be able to improve. Because if the Rangers are going to give him an extension, which by all accounts it does seem like they're going to need more from him. They're going to need him to be a better complement to Adam Fox. They are going to need him to help with chance prevention more than chance creation. I'm not asking Ryan Lindgren to be a facilitator. I'm not asking Ryan Lindgren to make the Rangers offense go. That's not his game. We all know that. We know he's not going to make magical plays happen. But he does need to be better at preventing scoring chances against, and that's why we're going to go over to all three zones. And we're going to pull up some of the stuff to help get a better understanding of where he is successful. So let's do this. Okay. So let me see how big it is on your screen. All right, let me make it a little bit bigger. All right. That looks like a reasonable size. So shots and passes, high danger, rush, forecheck, entries. Okay, this is where we want to start. We want to start with retrievals. We look at the Rangers. Left to right is retrievals, botched retrievals, and failed exits, which means unsuccessful zone exits, which means the puck goes into the Rangers zone and the defenseman in question goes to play it, and they either lose the puck battle or they try to clear the puck and fail to clear the puck out of the zone, and the other team maintains possession. Up and down, retrievals leading to exits. So how many times do they get the puck and the Rangers get out of the zone cleanly in this case, because we're talking about Rangers defensemen. So you see, left to right, you want to be closer to the right, and retrievals leading to exits, you want to be top right. And it's not a coincidence. You look at the best players. We've got Cale Makar, Adam Fox, Charlie McAvoy, Grizzlick, I'm surprised to see up there. Pietrangelo, you're not. Dante Fabro, great stats. Brock Faber, very good season. Shea Theodore, Samuel Girard, Shea Theodore, Marcus Pettersson, underrated player. Dmitry Orlov, quality player. You want to be up here. John Marino seeing up there is funny, but Erik Karlsson, Miro Heiskanen, you want to be in this top right corner. And Lindgren's pretty close to the middle. He's pretty close to above average in both. If you are in this top right quadrant, you are above average at both. If you're in this bottom right quadrant, that means you get the puck out relatively cleanly, but you don't do it a lot. That's the key here. The higher you are up, the more you're going to get the puck out. It's not a coincidence. Adam Fox is the Rangers' best guy at both. Lindgren's here. He's at about an average number of fails, which not the end of the world, and he's above average at retrievals that lead to exits. Now, you got to think about it mechanically. When Lindgren gets the puck, more often than not, his mental clock is telling him, okay, I got to get this puck to Fox. We got to get out of our zone. That's the key to understanding this chart. You look at Schneider, Trouba, Gustafsson, Miller. This is one of the better years for the Rangers. Like, I'm going to click down to 2022, 2023 for the Rangers, and it'll buffer. And you see Mikkola on the below average side, Trouba below average, Schneider below average, Ben Harper below average. Over here, Hayek not playing a lot of games, able to get juice stats. Miller below average at failed exits. That's partly because he's playing with Trouba. Zach Jones, somebody who we know can move the puck. He's quality, not a lot of failed exits. Adam Fox, unsurprisingly, top right quadrant. You want to see something funny? Let's look at the one from 3 years ago. A lot of non-exits. These guys, Nils, Libor, Nemeth, unable to get the puck out. Not a lot of failures, but unable to generate a lot of clean exits. You look at this, Trouba, more fails than clean exits. That's the key to understanding defense in today's NHL. It's not just chance prevention. It's how quick can we go from defense to offense. Now, we're going to go to another thing. We're going to go to zone exits outright. We're going to change it to this year. So we have what we're talking about right now. Now, clears per 60. Those are your alley-oops. Those are your rims along the boards. Those are your prayers. That's just get the puck out of there and pray for the next sequence. You're talking about the y-axis, the up and downs. That's exits with possession. So that can be either passing it out or that can be skating it out of danger. You continue along. Here, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because it still looks a little small for you guys on stream. You see where Lindgren's at. He's above average in terms of clears, which means he's not exiting the zone with possession a whole lot. Unsurprisingly, Adam Fox is in the top right quadrant where he's both clearing it out when he needs to, but more importantly, the Rangers are exiting with possession, which is the key here. You see some of the guys, Dahlin, Weegar. That Sebastian Aho is an interesting idea. I would not be opposed to that Sebastian Aho on the Rangers. Neil Pionk, Makar, Victor Hedman, John Marino, Erik Karlsson, you want to exit with possession if you can help it. It's not a coincidence that you see a lot of players on the same team grouped together because that's a team thing. That's an identity thing. That's a structure thing that we want to skate the puck out of our own zone, whether it's the defenseman who recovers the puck, gaining the space to skate it out, or passing it out. That's the key to understanding that. You look around some of the stats, you see where Lindgren's at. More clears than exits with possession. Now, we know he's playing most of his minutes with Fox. That means Lindgren himself, more often than not, isn't going to be the one who's responsible with breaking the puck out. So we can take that context. Excuse me here, I got to clear my throat. We can take that context and say, yeah, Lindgren is the lowest on the Rangers in terms of exits with possession per 60, but we also know that he's playing with Adam Fox, who is their best at exiting the zone with possession. So that's something to keep in mind there. So at face value, yes, you would like Lindgren to be a little closer to the x-axis, the one that's going left to right. But be that as it may, being that he's playing with Fox, it is not as big of a deal. Now, let's go over to our next step. Let's talk retrievals. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. Schneider, Lindgren. Okay. Retrievals per 60. This just means having to go get the puck. This does not mean exiting with possession. This does not mean winning the puck. That is just how many times do they have to go get it. You see, teams are dumping in and Schneider goes to get it. Lindgren goes to get it. Trouba goes to get it. Breaking out, Fox, Miller, Gustafsson. That makes perfect sense. If you think about the Rangers' defensive pairs, and I talked about this a lot on the podcast on Monday, each guy has a role. You have a mover and you have a retriever. The Rangers guys are extremely defined in their roles. Fox is their best puck mover. Gustafsson is a puck mover. You see exits with possession and retrievals. Exits with possession, you want to be closer to the right. You see Thomas Harley, very good second season in the league. Erik Karlsson, this is probably John Marino, yeah. Quinn Hughes, I don't know who that is in all honesty. Grzelcyk plays with McAvoy. Hampus Lindholm, same thing. Neil Pionk, Mackenzie Weegar, Dahlin. This is probably, Josh Manson. Alex Vlasic had a very underrated season this year. Derek Forbort, that's a team thing, not necessarily a Forbort thing. Letang, Eric Johnson is funny to see there. Noah Dobson, who had a very nice season. You can start to paint an understanding in your head of how the Rangers are functioning, what they're asking Lindgren to do, and how he's doing at that role. He's being tasked with going to get the puck. He's being tasked with getting it to Fox. He's playing with the Rangers' best forwards in Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere. And their job is to create as much offense as possible. And one of the drawbacks of the Lindgren-Fox pair is that neither guy is your traditional shutdown defenseman. People say Lindgren is supposed to be the defense-first guy on that pair. He's not a Slavin. He's not a Pesci. He's not an Orlov. He's not a Forsling. He's not that type of defensive defenseman. Now, I'm not saying Lindgren isn't a useful NHL player. I don't think he suits this role the Rangers have him cast in currently, where he's riding shotgun with their best defenseman. I think the Rangers need to aim higher for this first pair, and that will unlock more for them offensively. And we'll go over here. We'll talk about entry defense, which is something that Lindgren historically has been pretty good at. So You look at the X and Y axis, entries allowed leading to scoring chances. So the closer you are to the bottom, the worse. The more over to the bottom right, you are getting targeted more, which means teams are going to target you when they're entering the zone, where they're gaining the offensive zone, they're going through the neutral zone. They're going to Lindgren side of the ice, not Fox. You see, Fox is up here in the top left. Teams don't want to skate at him. Teams would rather skate at Lindgren and force Lindgren to play defense because they know Fox is better. They know Fox is going to have better positioning. They know Fox is going to make better reads. They're better off targeting. Again, we talked about this on the last table that you have a mover and you have a retriever. It's the same boat here. You see it. Miller is here. Trouba's here. Schneider being here and Gustafsson being here is a little funky, but that's because teams aren't really targeting Schneider and he's doing a good job of it. Gustafsson, they're not as inclined to target, but you see the vision here. One defenseman is going to be lower to the right that teams are going to target. The other side, that's going to be the guys that they're not targeting. The defenses don't want to go at Schneider through the neutral zone. They don't want to go at Adam Fox through the neutral zone. They would rather go at Gustafsson. They would rather go at Lindgren. That makes sense. That tracks with our understanding of the idea of retriever and mover. So we move along here. We'll go over to the next key statistic, which is entry defense. So this is in terms of how they are at preventing the other team from gaining the zone. So entry denial, which means when someone is skating at you, are you able to break up the play and force them to circle back or force a change in possession? And then we go over carry against, which means how often does the other team skate the puck past you on your side of the ice? And again, we get a clear understanding that because of partnerships, because of who plays with who, they're going to often be diagonal from each other. Trouba Miller, teams are okay skating past them. Teams have success skating past them. You see, Trouba's in close to the bottom, which, and again, this supports what we know. When Trouba doesn't line up that big hit in the neutral zone, when he doesn't go aggressive, he's very conservative. He pinches back, he pulls back, and he waits till that last possible minute to try and break up a play. That's why he's in the bottom right corner of the scatter plot in the conservative quadrant. And it's not necessarily bad to be in this quadrant. There are quality players here. You see Deline, you see Rasmus Anderson, you see Samuel Girard, you see Brock Faber, you see McAvoy, you see Chris Tanev, you see guys who Brian Dumoulin, who had a very solid season. You see defensive first defensemen. Again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you combine that with the failed exits and the inability to break out, then it starts to become an issue. But you look at it, we're talking about Lindgren here. Lindgren's here. So teams aren't carrying the puck in against Lindgren. He is the least carried in against defensemen on the Rangers. That makes sense. You see over here, entry denial. We know Adam Fox likes to step up at at the blue line, but he uses his stick. He uses his positioning and forces teams to make a decision faster than they want to. You see Kulikov is up here. You see Seider is up here. McDonough is up here. I wonder who that's Gudis. That's Olimata. That's Slavin. These are guys who are good defensively, and they're going to be on the upper half of this board here, on the upper half of this plot, because they're denying zone entries as well. Teams aren't going to target Lindgren. They're going to target Fox. Fox is going to make more aggressive plays, and he's going to be able to prevent entries. Lindgren's not. He's not terrible here. He's not that close. He's not that far away from average. If he gets a couple more denials, he's up here with Doughty and Mikula and Zadorov and Miro and Josh Manson and Pietrangelo. Lindgren's in a good class of guys here. This is encouraging. Is there anything else I want to touch on here on all three zones? No, I don't think so. So I think we're going to go back to full screen and we're going to talk a little bit more macro. So your understanding of Ryan Lindgren as a player is largely defined by what he's asked to do because he doesn't put up counting stats. Lindgren's career high in points, I think, is 20 something, if I want to say correctly. No, it's not even 20 something. Excuse me. It's 18. Lindgren's career high in points to this point is 18. Now, let's pull up Cap Friendly while we still can. RIP. Very unfortunate, but we'll pull up Cap Friendly. Oh, I misspelled Lindgren. I put the words in the wrong order. We go over to Ryan Lindgren. Come on. So let's pull this up. Share screen, cap friendly. Cool. Okay. I know cap friendly has a million pop-ups on their page and it's kind of distracting, but ELC, this is the contract he's currently on. He gets paid $3 million a year, which feels about right for what he is. Now, he is 26 years old, if I remember correctly. Yes, he's 26 years old. We're going to go over to our friends at Evolving Wild. We're going to look at Ryan Lindgren's value and their model. And just, this is not hard and fast. This is not, the gospel. This is not how the Rangers should be assessing what Lindgren is worth. But it is a tool. It is a resource we have, and I'm going to share this tab instead. So this table here is from Evolving Wild, a very useful resource. And we're looking down here. So SPAR stands for standing points above replacement, meaning replacement level player. And a replacement level player would be the seventh defenseman you call up from the AHL, and that's not a Zach Jones. That's more of a Ben Harper type. You're not expecting anything from them. You're just expecting them to be able to play in the game, and that's it. So in his career, Lindgren has given the Rangers a lot of value. You look offensively, 1920. The Rangers played at the highest tempo in the league, one of the highest tempos in the entire league that year. It's not a coincidence. That's also the highest value offensively. You see offense, defense, penalties, value, $7.2 million. $7.2 million. We go down the list and you look down further. Last year, the most valuable year Lindgren has given the Rangers in his career. You see 3.3 offense, 5.4 defense. Lindgren is a defense first guy, but you put that in comparison to this year where significantly less, almost 6 full points lower defensively than a little more offense, significantly worse defense. They don't have the values out for this year because they haven't done the end of year math yet, and that's fine. But I do think this is worth bringing up, the fact that Lindgren had a real setback in his career for the first time. And we can look at, where is it? Here's expected goals against. Where is team? We want Rangers. Yes, here we go. We look at goals above replacement. Fox, Panarin, Trocheck, Kreider, Zibanejad, Lafreniere, Schneider, Gustafsson, Miller, Brzezinski, Lindgren. Okay, blue. The color blue, dark blue. That is even strength offense, goals above replacement. That's good. 3.4 above replacement. Defense, -2. This is a defense first defenseman. You would want him to be on the positive half of that chart. You see, Schneider gives them 3.3 offense, 0.9 defense. It is hard to provide excess value defensively because defense is inherently harder than offense. I'm going to pull up the regression adjusted plus minus just to show you Lindgren. Where's Lindgren? You can see this is not good. Expected goals for, chances for, that's not good. The goals against is not as bad, but again, you want these numbers to be closer to the middle. A Z-score of 0 would be completely average. -3, that means he's worse than like 90. I think it's 98.6. I think is 3 standard deviations away from the mean of performance in that statistic. So whatever that expected goals for, significantly below average. But because this is an outlier season, I want to qualify that that's an outlier season. You look at last year, significantly better. The year before that, better on these stats, not so much the other ones. But you look here, this is not good. That is a sign of a player who is either declining or put in a situation where they're not as successful. And we know the Rangers changed a lot of their defenseman responsibilities. We saw Lindgren making more pushes towards the net this year. We saw that a lot in the playoffs, especially against Carolina, where Lindgren's going to overlap the winger on his side, try and get the puck behind the net to maintain zone time. Lindgren set up a goal in the Carolina series where he did that. But I'm going to bring it full screen now. In a salary cap sport, the Rangers do not have the luxury of messing up here. They don't have a ton of cap space. Like, let's go over to their cap friendly page and show you. So we'll pull this up. Okay. So this is where we're at right now. I can make that a little bigger for you on stream. That's a little too big. Okay. Okay, that looks like a reasonable size. So this is the bulk of their money. It's these three guys. Trocheck you could put in there too. So it's those first four: Trocheck, Kreider, Zibanejad, Panarin, Fox, Trouba, and Shesterkin. Those are their expensive players. We come down here. We look at Ryan Lindgren. He's a restricted free agent who is arbitration eligible. He is 26 years old. He can be an unrestricted free agent next summer at 27. If the Rangers want to hardball him, they can take him to arbitration, 1-year deal. He walks to unrestricted free agency next year. They could trade him. They can give him an extension. Of those three in order, I think extension, trade, arbitration in all likelihood. I think the Rangers, they really value continuity, maybe to a fault. And I think there are people within the organization who feel that part of Fox's success is the fact he's played with the same partner for so long. And I do think that's reasonable. I do think you can say that because they have such familiarity together, that replacing Lindgren would prove to be difficult. That if you're going to replace those 1,200 minutes Lindgren played this season, and they're coming with your best players, with Fox, with Trocheck, Panarin, Lafreniere, you're going to have to integrate somebody relatively quickly. And there's no slam dunk opportunity here to improve your team. I'm trying to think of a comparison, there's no Gus Forsling, That's the type of player you want to partner with Fox, a defense first guy who's actively good at preventing shots against. That's the key here. The Rangers need to find a way to maximize Fox, Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere's minutes. When you play them with a defenseman like Lindgren, who is inherently reliant on his partner and his line mates to do the work, you're going to have a more difficult time. In an ideal world, you get Fox a partner who is money at retrievals and can actively suppress scoring chances against. In a vacuum, you drop Forsling, a Jacob Slavin, you drop a left-handed Chris Tanev, you drop that type of partner with Fox, you're going to get a lot better results. And I know the Fox results are good this year. We looked at the natural stat trick, the 57% of the goals for. They did a really good job this year playing that group together. That said, if you want to maximize them, which you're going to need to if you want to beat a Panthers in the Eastern Conference Finals, if you want to beat a Lightning 2 years ago, you need to get even more out of your good players, and you need to improve on the margins. It's not just improve on the margins. It's how do we get more out of guys that are already here? I know the Miller-Fox pairing has been a pipe dream for a lot of Ranger fans for a few years now. I think that could work. I think if Miller accepts he needs to be a little bit more defensive, they can do that. I think the problem is Miller playing with Trouba, both of those guys think they're offensive defensemen. Trouba is neither. Trouba is just a puck retriever at this point. He is not suppressing scoring chances against. He is not breaking the puck out. He is not running a power play. He's not Zadorov. He's not Quinn Hughes. He's not Makar. He's not a guy who's going to score 12, 13 goals in a season. To maximize Fox, you need to give him a partner who's going to be able to do the heavy lifting, who's going to be able to win those puck battles, who's physical, who can block shots. Ryan Lindgren does that stuff, but not at a very high level. Ryan Lindgren on his current contract at $3 million a year is fine. You got a little more than excess value on him. I don't know if Lindgren at $5 million a year, $4.5 million a year, is going to be positive value for you. And that's the real conundrum here. If you take him out, you need to find a top 4 defenseman who can kill penalties and play with your best defenseman. It's why I said last week on the show, right after they lost to Florida, and on the show this week, there's no easy decision here. I need the Rangers to get better for my own sanity. I don't know if the Rangers are ready to plunge into okay, we can accept Lindgren's not good enough, but what do we do now? I don't know if they're ready to have that conversation. But I think that'll just about do it. I am going to get ready to go to the gym and get my stuff together to go get in a good lift. Leg day, unfortunately. But I hope this was illuminating for you in some way and how you do a player evaluation, what publicly available resources there are to enhance your understanding. Because ultimately, as this person revs their Honda Civics through my intersection, when you have as much information as that's out there, and as we know, the NHL does not want you to be smart. The NHL wants you to eat their slop. They don't want the salaries out there. They don't want you to question their authority, people in positions of authority. You have information. Make yourself informed and don't just eat whatever your favorite team is telling you. Ryan Lindgren is a good hockey player. His value stems from the fact he was underpaid. Once you have to pay him market value, the Rangers are probably going to be on the losing end of that proposition. I will probably talk to you guys at some point later in the week. I'll probably stream Chell or maybe another player of value.